So, welcome back to Unveiling Truths. Sorry I had to kind of dash out on you. I just needed to make a quick run. But I'm back, and this is where we left off. Basically letting you know that when God blesses you, when He lifts you up, when He gives you an overabundance, and gives you everything that you've asked of Him, all He asks is that you remember Him. We're going to talk about praising the Lord, or praying, how to pray, or how they prayed biblically, so that we can add in the direction that you're to pray. There is a specific direction that you're going to find out that the Hebrews need to pray in the land of their ancestors' captivity. Wherever they are scattered, all abroad the nations, there is a direction that the Hebrews are to pray in. So we're going to be learning about a lot of different things such as that, but we're going to go ahead and continue where we left off. Okay, we left off around in this area. We were talking about when God blesses you, not to forget Him. Okay? So that's something we want to remember. It says here, "And it shall be when the Lord thy God hath brought thee into the land which He sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give thee great and goodly cities which thou buildest not." Because you've got to remember that because of the sins of the nation, God gave the Israelites they came in and did battle and took over these people's lands, where these people did all the work, set up the lands and fields and all kinds of stuff. All they did was come in and basically take over, as a result of kind of like Sodom and Gomorrah, but with Sodom and Gomorrah, God destroyed the entire city, period. Everything in that city was destroyed. There are some times when God sends them over, they're going to, as a matter of fact, I skipped that. When they took over Jericho, we need to go over what happens when you disobey God, how you could affect the entire tribe. So I'm going to try and let me write that down. So that we can go back when they took over Jericho. Let me write down Jericho. What had occurred when you disobey God and you're dealing with the accursed things. If there's anything that's in your house that is of the devil, or that's of some type of witch type of emblem, anything that a person brings in your house, you need to get it out, because if it's a curse, it will cause your house to be cursed. The people in your house can be cursed. Sick people, all of a sudden you have all types of negativity in your home as a result of having something accursed in your home. So we need to go over the accursed things. But it says here, and houses full of all good things which thou fillest not, and wells dig, which thou diggest not, vineyards and olive trees which thou plantest not, when thou shalt have eaten and be full, that means now you're satisfied, then beware. Let me scroll this up to the top. We read this a little earlier before I had to take off, but it's letting you know to beware. And whenever it tells you to take heed, especially if it says take diligent heed, those are things you need to really pay attention to, because those are giving you very strict instructions. Okay? Sometimes it'll say take heed is the same as being aware. Then beware lest thou forget, because you'll get comfortable and you won't need to pray. You'll forget to pray as often because you don't have a need. You're figuring, I don't have a need to pray. I got everything. I'm comfortable. I'm good. But you have to remember who gave you these things. You know, when a child is being brought up, he takes for granted that his parents are there for him. But once those parents are no longer there, if they are in an auto accident and they're taken out of that child's life, then they really, really understand how vitally important their parents were in their lives. Because people don't take as good care of a child as the parent would. I mean, the parent will go above and beyond for the child, where with the stranger, he'll deal with him to a certain level and he's on his own. But the parent will spank that child. Why? Because he's got to correct him. He's got to chasten him to keep him so that he does not go down a destructive path. So he's keeping him on a good path, and that's why he's correcting him. You know, and it's also to protect him. If you don't teach a child, don't do something, do not touch fire. Do not play with that electrical socket. Do not run water in a bathtub. You know, because those are things that can put a child in a very precarious situation where that child could lose his life. He could end up getting himself in such a bad state that he may be hospitalized for months. If he gets such a severe burn and he survives it, look at the agony and pain that child's going to be in. So a parent's job is to protect, to supervise. And when a child is young, you know, he's crawling and he's learning to walk, it is the parent's responsibility to put in plug protectors, these plastic plug protectors, so that he cannot stick a coat hanger in that socket, so that and put all kind of dangerous liquids up high and lock them up. It is the parent's responsibility to put things out of that child's way to keep him from harming himself. Because when a child gets quiet, normally when a child is really quiet, he's into something. His focus is directed on whatever he's into, and it's generally something that he's exploring. Because kids are like little explorers. They want to know everything and they gravitate to everything, especially if it's colorful. And if it's small enough to get in his mouth, he will put it in his mouth. You cannot get upset with the child for being a child. You are the parent. It is your responsibility to be on guard, to be prepared to protect that child by putting every harmful thing locked up high away, so that you don't have to worry about the possibility of that child getting into something. Back when I was young, sometimes you would hear of where a child had to go periodically, where you would hear where a child had to go to a hospital to get his stomach pumped out. Why? Because he swallowed bleach. He swallowed something that was not for him to swallow, because that's what children do. But it's that parent's fault in my mind, because if you know that you have a child in the home, why would you have put that down on the floor? And why were you not watching him? You know, if you don't have a play center where a child can stay in and play with his toys, then you have to keep a very close eye on that child. So understand, be a responsible parent by protecting your child, okay? So anyways, it says, beware lest thou forget the Lord, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. Thou shalt fear the Lord thy God and serve him, not people, not, not the things of this world. You're to serve God, and shalt swear by his name. Well, I don't swear at all, but it says if you're going to swear, you swear by his name. And it could be that at one time I was a New Testament person, because I really didn't get into Old Testament until much later, because when I went to high school and they had us in history, American history, the entire class was always sleeping. It was just something about history that was so extremely boring. I think I got a D in every history class, and that was only because they had me turn the lights on and off, so they at least just gave me a D. But history was so extremely boring. So when I got older and I began to read the Word independently on my own, I really had no interest in the Old Testament, because it was the past. Well, unbeknownst to me, that's where all the good simmering juices were in the Old Testament. Because if you don't know your roots and you don't have any idea as to who you are, who your roots are, or anything else, then you don't know where to go. You don't know what direction to travel. You don't know who you are, anything. So roots are vitally important. But because I was taught American history, history was not being taught of who I was. It was being taught of whom the people who we were surrounded by, it was of their history, and that wasn't even accurate, simply because I always had questions about things that just didn't make sense, and there was no one that could really answer those questions. I mean, I didn't understand how simple things couldn't be explained. If you say that Christopher Columbus discovered America and the Indians were already occupying America, how possibly could that be so? So I just had always questions, even biblical questions. I had questions that people couldn't answer. And so that's how I began to seek on my own and independently to try and find answers to questions that people could not give me answers to. So I implore you to please explore. If there's something you don't know, seek the answer. Okay? Don't wait for someone to tell you what the answer is. If they, don't depend on somebody else to give you the answer. If you ask, and when they give you an answer and you research the answer that they gave you and the puzzles does not fit, because sometimes people will just tell you anything. They'll just tell you whatever it is that they think will appease you, shut you up. Well, I don't want to be shut up. I don't want you to just feed me anything. I want you to give me the truth. And if what you're saying does not sound right, I'm going to go further and try and find and seek the truth on my own. So be a seeker, because the Bible lets us know, seek and ye shall find. So be a seeker of the truth. Okay, and it says, ye shall not go after other gods. Now, we're going to talk about what other gods could be, because you'd be surprised what can be a god. Anything that you put before the Lord has become a god in your life. All kinds of idols, okay, can be a god. And it says, ye shall not go after other gods, of the gods of the people which are round about you. That's what many Hebrews who have been scattered all over the nation, that's exactly what they have been doing, unbeknownst to them, simply because during the period of slavery, they were not allowed to make choices. They were not allowed to be educated. They were not allowed to explore, to venture. Nothing. They were like paraplegics. They were paralyzed, mentally not able to think, not able to be independent in any type of shape, fashion, or form. They were only taught to obey like a dog. Go fetch this ball. Go fetch that stick. Roll over. Play dead. You know, they were basically treated, well, actually worse than animals. So they had no type of, there was no type of mentorship. There was no type of encouragement for them. So these people became mentally paralyzed. And then when they were set free, they didn't even know what to do with themselves. How you set a person free, penniless, with the clothes on their backs, or maybe one day's rations of food, to travel out into a chaotic world of haters, people dressed in white attire and white hoods pointing up to the sky, that were viciously harassing and stalking and persecuting them, whomever they seen, hanging them on trees. It was a horrible time. I can't even imagine having been there on that time, that every day you woke up, you didn't even know if you would live past that day. A horrible time, okay? But as a matter of fact, I'm going to read you something where these people felt that it was okay for them to persecute you simply because they knew scripture and they knew who you were as a person. But of course they wasn't going to let you know who you were, and they most certainly didn't want the nations to know that they were persecuting God's chosen people. There was something I read on the internet about Adolf Hitler, where Adolf Hitler wrote that there was something written in a book about him. As a matter of fact, I have one of his books. I have books about a lot of stuff, but it's on the internet and I'll try to pull that up if I can look for it. But it basically tells how Hitler is stating after his death he would start World War III because of the knowledge he knew. He was trying to stop the Jews from occupying the Hebrews' land once they were dispersed all over the nations. He understood that they were under a curse because they sinned against their God, and he was trying to keep the Hebrews from taking over their land. That's the reason why he was trying to extinguish them. But we're taught here in America that Hitler is a ruthless, evil person, but why aren't we taught that the KKK, Ku Klux Klan, are ruthless, hateful people? Didn't they do the exact same things? Didn't they exterminate blacks wrongfully and without cause simply because of the color of their skin? So when you talk about Hitler, also talk about the KKK, the Klan, because they are on the exact same level of exterminating people wrongfully. Now, I don't agree with any type of murdering of anyone, but if you're going to tell the truth, tell the whole truth, not just some of the truth. Where will you find in American history where it states anything about the evils of the KKK being a bad thing? It may state, oh, well, this happened, but does it say the KKK did this as it talks about Hitler? Okay, so Hitler exterminated a lot of Jews because he was trying to keep them out of God's land from taking over. But see, prophecy will be fulfilled. And we're going to read where the people occupying Israel today are in fact Gentiles perpetrating God's people, because God's people are still scattered all over the nations. So we're going to learn that, but I'm trying to stick with the task at hand, and there's so much to talk about. That's how I jump off like I'm jumping off now. So let me get back on the road I need to be on. It says, for the Lord thy God is a jealous God among you, lest the anger of the Lord thy God be kindled against you and destroy thee from off the face of the earth. Ye shall not tempt the Lord your God as ye tempted him in Massah. Okay? So understand that you are not allowed to play with God. You are not allowed to say, oh, I'm God's people, I can do this and I can do that. No, you can't. You'll mess around and end up in serious trouble messing with God, because see, he's a God, he's not a man. Do not play with him. Okay, he's giving you instructions because he wants to prolong your days upon the earth before him. Ye shall diligently keep the commandments of the Lord. Now, what diligently means every moment of every day. Keep God's commandments, because you're going to be challenged by Satan at times to do dirt. So sometimes you're going to have to look the other way, walk the other way, and just, it's like Job, eschew, avoid evil. If you see evil, go the opposite way. If you see if people are trying to get you to do wrong, avoid them. Leave them alone. And then it says, keep the commandments of the Lord your God and his testimonies and his statutes which he hath commanded thee. And thou shalt do that which is what? Thou shalt do that which is right and good in the sight of the Lord, not in the sight of man, in God's sight. Do that which is good, which is right and good. It doesn't matter how evil people are around you. Like Lot. Lot was surrounded in Sodom and Gomorrah by evil people, wicked people, but his house served the Lord. Okay? So no matter what's going on around you, you just keep doing the right and the good thing in the sight of the Lord. Okay? Because he knows what you're up against. And he will free you up and get you away from these people, and you will have peace in your life. Just being far from them, because you know that around them is nothing but chaos, drama, and trouble. So get away from them. Okay? Being far away from them and having the peace that you need in your life will let you see old age. But you be around people full of hate and drama, they'll set you up, they'll set your kids up, they will do anything possible they can to destroy you, to make you look bad. Well, it's not important what man thinks of you. What's important is what God sees. Okay? They're going to lie on you. They're going to try to sabotage and set you up. But when you get away from them, guess what? There's nothing else they can do to you. One thing that's about a snake, you got to understand about any snake, as long as you're not within striking range, that snake can't harm you. It's only when you're foolish enough to get within range of being struck that you will be bitten. So understand, when you are around snakes, get away from them. They can't do nothing to you if you're nowhere around. If you are far from them, there's nothing they can do because they know nothing about you. Keep it that way. Keep them out of your business, because no matter what you do that's positive, they'll turn it around for a negative, towards a negative. I mean, I've had, and this is relatives that have hated on me because of God's blessings in my life. He blessed me to be with 2 kids. He blessed me with a home on half an acre of land in a prestige area with 4 vehicles and a truck, house full of everything that I needed, and my home stayed clean, neat, and organized. I was raised up around people who kept their houses junky and disorganized, and I didn't want to be anything like them. So sometimes when you strive to just live your life according to what feels right for you, people will hate you. When they come to your house and see your house clean and organized and decent, they'll hate you for that. I had a relative come over one time, and it's no sooner than I opened the door, they walked past me through my house back to my bedrooms and looked into both of my bedrooms to see how our bedrooms looked, to see if our beds were made up. And because our rooms were kept in mint condition, and of course I taught my kids to keep their rooms clean and their beds were made up, or they didn't get to go out and hang with their buddies. So their room stayed clean. Okay, so when they came in and saw the rooms clean and the beds made up, they looked at me with the weirdest look, and I'm looking at them like, what in the world? So people will hate you just for being you, just for being yourself. So just get away from these people who are not for you, and they're looking for opportunity to hate you because you're different from your upbringing. If you had parents, and I'm not speaking in reference to anybody's parents, I'm just using this as an example. If you came up with parents that were alcoholics and drug dealers, I mean not drug dealers, but druggies or whatever, they did all types of stuff, and the house was just crazy polluted, disorganized, smoke all over the place, junk everywhere all over the place. You walk through the house, you're tripping over everything because it's in such a disorderly state. So you get grown, you say to yourself, okay, you start cleaning up, and you're trying to do the right thing by cleaning the house yourself. No sooner than you clean up, they come right back in and dirty everything back up again. And so you get to a point, okay, well, this isn't going to work. I cannot wait to get grown. When I get grown, my life is going to be completely different from this. Sometimes that happens. I have met people whose parents were really no influence, no positive influence whatsoever. And when they grew up, they didn't want to be nothing like them. I know people like that even right now. I've spoke with younger people that'll talk about how their parents are and how they don't want to be anything like them. Well, I don't see that as being a bad thing as far as the child wanting better. If your parents lack something, then try to strive to make your life comfortable. Don't go down the same negative, destructive path or road that someone went down and you saw the aftermath to be a very bad thing in the end. You don't have to be like them. When you become grown and you get your own, then do better. Live your life where your life is going to be comfortable. Don't say, oh, well, I was raised this way. If your mother was a harlot or a whore, you're going to be a harlot or a whore because she was? If she smoked and she's dying of emphysema or some kind of lung disease or throat disease, now you're going to do the same thing, and you know that the end result is going to be suffering at the end, or with the person who's an alcoholic. and he's got kidney and liver disease as a result of all those toxins in his system over a period of years that have just completely deteriorated his organs. You're going to go down that same road. So it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, but if you have a lot of negativity around you, you don't have to relive that negativity. You'll be 18, or when you get old enough to start venturing out, make your life better and teach your children better. Now, people will hate you for teaching your children better, because in their eyes, they're going to say they think they're too good. They think they're better. No, you don't. It's just that you have chosen to do better with your life and to give your kids better. Any good parent is always going to give their children better than what they had in their life. That's called a good parenting. A good parent. They want their kids to be better than them. When David handed a throne over to his son Solomon before he died, he said he wanted his throne to be greater and better than David's throne. Let his throne be better and greater than my throne. You always want better for your children. No matter how your life is, you want their life to be better. You want them to be more successful than you. You want them to shoot for the stars and to be more successful than you. But no matter how successful you become, just make sure you keep God first. And He will bless you. He will bless you and keep the things that you have without selling your soul out to the devil, without ending up in a hell for eternity because you serve these things. So keep God first, and He will preserve you and keep you with the things that you have. He'll keep the things that you have, put it that way. I mean, it's going to be people trying to knock you down, but let God deal with them. You just keep your distance from them, and you just let God handle them. Don't you go and be vengeful or vindictive and say what you're going to do against them and get them back, because now you're sinning, and the sin that you sin, you have to reap that sin that you have gone out and sinned because someone done you wrong. People are going to do you wrong. Understand that. They're going to do you wrong. But when you see, like it tells you, a prudent man foresees the danger and he hideth himself. But the simple pass on and are punished. So when you see the danger, or if you see the negativity, or you foresee something, just leave it alone. Why would you walk down a dead end and you know at the dead end of that road there's a huge alligator waiting? I'm not trying to be ate up by any alligator, so I'm going to avoid that road. And yes, God does protect me, but He also gives me sense. He gives me what's called common sense. And plus His Spirit will lead and guide you. If you let God's Spirit lead and guide you, He already knows the alligator's down there waiting on some prey to come along. So He's not going to even let you go down that road. Even if that was a road you were accustomed to traveling, He's going to send you down another way. And you're not going to understand why all of a sudden you were led down another way, but later on He'll reveal it. If you're going down this way, this is what would have happened had you gone down that road. So I took you down a different path. So God will do that sometimes. Sometimes all of a sudden you're on your way to get somewhere and traffic is so thick you can't get there. And then you'll find out later on something happened on the job that you'll be glad you were not there. When the Twin Towers, when those planes hit those Twin Towers, I believe there was an individual that said that they were running so late that work that morning, that I think they overslept or something. Well, they missed that when them planes came in, they missed all that because they overslept. Who's to say that God didn't allow them to oversleep? Because it wasn't their time to go. So sometimes when God does things, it may be for a reason. So let Him lead. Let Him lead you, because He knows what's best. It says, it may be well with thee. It says, wait a minute, let me start over, because I got to run in my mouth. And thou shalt do that which is right and good in the sight of the Lord, that it may be well with thee. Okay? And that thou mayest go in and possess the land which the Lord sware unto thy fathers. It is because of our fathers that God has been absolutely wonderful, and He will be wonderful. And so when God tells you to keep doing what's right, He's telling you this for a reason. Let me find the cursor, I'm sorry. Now, who does it say is going to deal with your enemies? To cast out all thine enemies from before thee, as the Lord hath spoken. God will deal with your enemies. Okay? You don't have to deal with them. He will deal with them. So let him deal with them so that it doesn't become sin with you trying to do God's job. Okay? So now we're going to go to and please mark these scriptures. Because these scriptures you're going to find later on is partly how the Israels fell short. Okay? So keep all these scriptures in mind. Okay, it tells you here, take heed. This is a warning. Be warned. Take heed to yourselves, that your heart be not deceived, and ye turn aside, you go astray. And we do that. We all go astray sometimes, because you got a devil out there that's looking to trip you up. A woman who desires a husband, he'll put someone who is a wolf in sheep's clothing right before you. And this person will be so perfect and you all will fit like a glove, just to find out he was nothing of what he had you believing he was, because to try to get up in your life, he's got to impress you. So he'll tell you any lie, he'll play any game, and he'll do whatever it takes to get where he's trying to go. So please be aware that you got an enemy out there that will be trying to set you up for failure. And when you fall in love, and I'm going to tell you, love covers a multitude of sin. You won't see that man like other people see him. People will even come up and try to warn you about things about that person, but you're in love with him. You don't see the things that everybody else sees. And he'll be having women on the side, you won't believe it. And he'll be doing all kinds of stuff, and you won't believe it because you've fallen in love, especially when you're young. As you get older, you've fallen in love before, and you've learned to fall out of love. So you know that, okay, just like I fell in love, I'll fall out of love. If you're out there clowning, I'm going to lose you. So that's called wisdom as you mature. But when you're young and in love, that person becomes like your world. I mean, not like a God in your life, but he's the only man that you want to spend any amount of time with. And so you look forward to just walking down the street holding hands, cuddled. You know, young love is so beautiful. It truly is. It is so innocent and it's just so beautiful. But it's so unfortunate in today's world where men are pressured to mistreat women. They are pressured to have multiple women. They are pressured, just don't get caught. I mean, the pressures on the men today amongst their peers is really pathetic, because there's a song that's called, what is this song? It's about a man that followed his friends. Oh girl, I'll be in trouble if you leave me now. I don't know how to look for love, and I just don't know how. This man describes how his friends, he had a good woman in his life, and his friends pressured him to let the woman take care of you. Don't be a fool. You taking care of the woman, let the woman take care of you. So he began to think or be hip like the crowd. He said, so trying to be hip and think like the crowd, but then when the woman left him, now the crowd couldn't even help him. See, the crowd of people you listen to, when you fall by yourself. That crowd isn't there to pick you up. Okay? They didn't have another woman set up waiting for him when he lost that good woman. Okay? So now he lost a good woman, and he's doing desperately willing to want to get the woman back in her life. But see, one thing about a decent woman, you can't treat a decent woman any kind of way. Because see, she's looking for a husband that's going to be as dedicated and as trustworthy and as loyal as she would be to him. So when you cross certain boundaries with a good woman, you can't more than likely come back. Because when you taking vows that says for better, for worse, for good, or for richer, for poor, for good, or for bad, and she's already looking at the fact that I already know you would turn your back on me and leave me, you would cheat on me, that's already divorce. So if you already see divorce, why would you marry a person and it's evident that this person will break your heart, he will leave you and abandon you and cheat on you and all these things, then you turn around and marry him? So when once a good woman who has wisdom, if she looks at a man and sees divorce, she's not going to marry him, because she already sees divorce there. It's imminent, because his ways would create that. If a woman does not smoke or drink or drug, why would she marry a drunk, a druggie, or someone who does the things that are totally incompatible with her nature? Why would she marry him? When you marry, you want to marry someone that you fit with, that you have compatibility with, that you're on the same page with. You don't marry someone that's opposite of whom you are, because the marriage 9 times out of 10 is going to fail. If you met a man in a nightclub, if you're going to church and you're earnestly in church, why would you date a guy who is in the streets and they go to nightclubs every weekend? You know that at nightclubs they meet women, so you would date a guy that is totally opposite in the direction that you're going in. So understand that a good woman wants a good man. That's a good fit. But when you have a weak man, he will follow the crowd and miss out on what he could have had in his life and that would have been in his life for life. He'll go out there and chase after a skirt who, as soon as he's not making enough money or somebody else comes along that's making better money, he's history. Well, hey, I met somebody else. Gotta go. Now you want to come back to that good woman? Well, she's no longer there, because you betrayed her trust. She may be kind to you, she may be your friend, but you're not getting back in her life, because she knows that marriage would be a failure with you. So understand, men, please, if you have a good woman, don't be foolish and chase after a temporary situation that you have no stability. There's no stability in someone who's revealing practically her entire body. If what attracted you to her, whatever attracts you to her is attracting other men to her as well. If you chasing after a skirt, other men are chasing after that same skirt. And the one that's got the most money is 9 times out of 10 who she's going to end up with. You will be working day and night just to appease her. And if she's high maintenance, the fake hair, the fake nails, the fake everything, and she's going to be having her hands out for you to keep that fakeness up. So young men, understand that sometimes getting a plain Jane in the end, someone who is just natural, no fake hair, no high maintenance type of situation, you're probably going to be getting into a long-term situation. Not somebody who's going to be going with the person that's got the highest paycheck. Okay? So please understand that, because my first love lost me, and when he woke up, it was too late. And no matter what he did, there was nothing he could do. It was too late. He lost out on not just me, but even his son. So don't make his mistake and be a fool. Okay? Don't be a fool taking for granted that this person is always going to be there, because and then he thought his mother could help him get back in my life. She, out of nowhere, started calling me, and I let him know, your mother hasn't been having anything to say, so tell her don't put her 2 cents in now. Now that the table's turned in his face, there's nothing your mother can say to me to help you. I'm not impressed by your mother. When the whole time you turned your back on me, your mother didn't call me not one time with any words of sympathy. Now all of a sudden she's calling telling me how we need to get back together. No, she needs to mind her own business, because there's nothing you or anyone else, there was nothing him or anybody else could do. So understand, young men, when you have a good woman and she's a decent woman, don't be a fool. It's better to have a bird in the hand than to be trying to get two birds in the bush. Okay? So hold on to somebody who's a good person, because chasing after a skirt, there is no stability there. There's no way that you can know that that person will stick around. Generally, they're high maintenance. They got to have money to keep that up. And if you don't have any money, they move on to someone else who does have money. Keep that in mind. Okay? So it says, take heed to yourself that your heart be not deceived, that ye turn aside. Oh, let me start over. Take heed to yourself that your heart be not deceived, and ye turn aside and serve other gods and worship them. I'm going to tell you, you serve other gods, you are going to really, you're talking about a curse, and we're going to find out how the Israelites messed up. Do not serve other gods and worship them. Okay, other gods can be more than just what you think. So we're going to be learning about other gods. And then the Lord's wrath be kindled against you. See, God will get upset with you, and you'll be wondering how everything God bless you with, all of a sudden, you're losing. You got this real big, pretty car, and somebody stole it and stripped it. It disappeared. Everything that you have will start going down. Okay? And if you have a high maintenance individual in your life that's got fake this and fake that, your money really is going to go down, because it takes money. And I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of money in hair care. When you go and get your hair done, I mean, them people are making money off of that. So if you're wise, you'll get with the woman that can do her own hair. If she likes nails, she can do her own nails. If she likes makeup, she can do her own makeup. She can do her own everything to keep and maintain herself. If she's got to go outside and get it done professionally, you better keep a really nice, good job, because you're going to need it, and she's going to be expecting you to be able to keep up her maintenance upon herself. If she's independent, then okay, that's another thing. But if she's dependent upon you for her care, you better keep a job, okay? But with a plain Jane, even if you lose your job, she'll be there to back you up and to hold on to you till you can get back up on your feet. So understand that about a just plain Jane, a person who's not caught all up into the materialistic aspects of the world. And then the Lord's wrath will be kindled against you, and he shut up the heaven, and there'll be no rain. This is talking about like farmers, because you need rain to come down on your crops. But in today's world, you need a job to sustain yourself. So if God is saying, I'll shut up heaven that there'll be no rain, well, hey, I'll cause you to lose your job. Then what? Okay? So we have to take back in biblical times and kind of modernize it to give you an idea of what they're saying here. And that the land yield not her fruit. So if you ain't got a job, you no longer have an income coming in, unless ye perish quickly off the good land which the Lord giveth you. Walking down the street and get hit by a car. Anything can happen. Okay? So don't think, oh, I'm healthy, I'll be here a long time. You don't know how long you'll be here. When God says it's your time, you will go. Okay? So don't get too high in this world at all. Therefore shall ye lay up these words in your heart. Okay? If you get them down in your heart, you'll live. You'll instinctively live them, and in your soul. If you get them down on the interior of you, if you get them down within you, you'll instinctively do it. Just as naturally as you breathe air, you will naturally, the more you live for God, the more it'll become natural for you to live for God. Okay? When a person smokes, you just kind of get up and get away from them, because it's detestable to you. You don't want to breathe in their toxins. You're not going to want to be around that stuff. So it'll be instinctively for you to live for God, okay? And bind them for a sign upon your hand. Okay, well, if you got to wear a bracelet that's got, the God's name on it, to look at it and to remind you, okay, well, then do that. That they may be as frontlet between your eyes. Whatever it takes for you to hold on to God, then do what you need to do. Because if myself, I don't wear jewelry. I just put on a watch, and that's only because I need to watch the watch for work. But I don't generally put on a watch. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't wear jewelry. I don't do jewelry. I mean, I used to in my youth. I mean, when me and my girls, we would go out, and we did used to go out. we roller skated, and we did hit clubs. We didn't smoke, drink, or drug, but we loved to dance. So in my youth, when I and my friends got together, we went roller skating half the night, and we went to clubs the other half of the night. We were young women with a lot of energy. We didn't necessarily go out to meet men. We just went out because we were a group of women, and we were just having fun. It was just like that song of Cyndi Lauper, "Girls Just Want to Have Fun." We were in that state of stage. I guess sowing our wild oats. I guess, I don't know. But I'm gonna show you how good God was. Although we were not living in His will, in His way at that time in my life, nothing ever happened to us. We never got in any type of trouble, and we used to go in areas. Sometimes someone else would drive, and we would go in areas we had no idea where we were. And at this time, I remember the area that we lived in, the club shut down at, like, I think it was 12 or 1 at night. But then when you cross over into this other state, their club stayed open till 6 in the morning. Well, we would go roller skating half the night from like 8 in the evening to 12, and I had to stop that after a while because I had a young son and I needed to be a responsible parent. But I went out for a little while with my girls, they were my girls back then, and we went out. I mean, actually, they were getting me out because of the deadbeat I ended up getting a child back. So they were getting me out the house basically. But we would go out, but I had to tell them. And I mean, we would go out, we would roller skate half the night, and we would go over to a club in another state in bad areas, okay. Sometimes you can go to a place thinking it's okay because somebody said, oh, there's something going on here, let's go here, and you just following the flow, and they put you, and you're in bad areas, and you don't even know it, and absolutely nothing ever happened. It may be anywhere from 5 to 7 of us girls hanging out. We didn't even have a male in the group. All of us, and sometimes we would double date. I had another friend, she and I would double date, and I would, try, when I would date someone, I would see if he had a decent friend, not anybody, but a decent friend, that she could double date, and we would double date. But the thing is, sometimes some of the places we went were not good places. They were not safe places. But God took care of us even when we weren't even in His will and in His way. We had strayed. I had strayed. And at that time, I had no desire to want to do right. I was having too much fun being in the streets. So, and God, He kept me despite me. Okay? He kept me and took such good care of me despite me. He kept me from drugs, alcohol, and all that stuff. I didn't have no desire to do that stuff, but I had so much energy, and I loved to dance. I loved to skate and dance, and that's what we did. But He kept us, and then I missed my son. I told him, I'm not going to be going out with you all anymore. I said, I have a desire to go back to church, and I want to start being a responsible parent with my son. I'm tired of letting him sit with somebody, somebody babysitting him. I got tired of that. I missed my son. So I stopped going out with them, and plus I had an urge to go back to church. And when I went back to church, I thank God, because it tells you the day that you hear the voice of the Lord, harden not your heart, as in the day of provocation in the wilderness, like our forefathers hardened their hearts. Well, when I had this compelling urge to go back to church, it was about 2 weeks later, after I went back to church, that the girl that I would normally go out with, she met another friend, and they were going out now, and she's continuing going out. Somebody hit the back of her vehicle, flipped it over, and they were unconscious. And when she woke up, she was in the hospital, and she had glass all in her, and she ended up ruining her knees, and now she's got to deal with arthritis in her knees and glass was all in her. I had no idea that that had even happened. God had gotten me out of that lifestyle at the time, of going out. Even though it was clean, we were clean. We didn't smoke, drink, or drug or nothing like that. But the environment that we were in was not clean. It was smoke-filled environment. They were playing music that definitely was not of God. That music was secular music. And we danced all night in 3.5-inch heels. Don't ask me how we roller skated and danced all night in 3 and 3.5-inch heels all night. But we did, and slept the whole day the next day. And that was a weekend ritual for us. We knew what we were going to do each weekend. And even though I was in sin at that time, had backslidden, had strayed, I wasn't praying, nothing, wasn't reading the word, nothing. At that time, God still had his hand upon me. And when he foresaw the danger that was coming up ahead, he told me, it's time for you to come on back home. It's time to get off the street. I had no idea why I had this strong urge to go back to church, but I listened to that urge. And had I been in the back seat, I would have been dead, because the back seat of her vehicle was pushed up to the front. She was the driver, and they were on their way home from a club, and the girl that she had started going out with was one of those kind of girls that drew, liked a lot of attention. And so I was a very pretty, humble, modest person. It wouldn't have bothered me to sit in the back, but she would have more than likely been the one up in the front seat. Well, if the back was pushed up to the front, whoever had been in the back would have been dead. That means, had I not listened to God's voice, had I not yielded to his drawing power, had I not listened to his voice when he said, come back home,